So coffee is just one thing. It's just like one drum, right? It's just one bean. But tea is the rest of the plant kingdom. It's the rest of the plant kingdom. And there's so many other instruments and so much else around the world, right? There's so much to pull from. And we don't know them all. There's so much still left untapped that we're still just discovering. The possibilities are endless. Choose your own adventure. It's not just a one-trick pony. You can do a lot of different things with tea, and we do at Transit. And so, yeah, you get to pick, right? And isn't that so American? Like, you get to pick. You're free. You get to pick. So go have fun. Let's do this thing. They're so cute.
They're so cute.
Cute. You should come over. We made fajitas last night. My name is Manish Shah. I am the owner of Maya Tea Company and Transit Tea, and also the founder of Heirloom Farmers Markets here in Tucson. For 26 years, I have been focused on bringing delicious things to our community, whether through the farmers markets or my efforts here at the tea company or at Transit. And I've been fortunate enough that as a result of what we do that is delicious with plants, I've been able to take those things nationally, at least with Maya Tea, and hopefully soon with other things. After I came out of college, I was in marketing. One of the things that I did when I was doing the marketing was help run events. And I got an opportunity to run a farmers markets for just a very short period of time. And I kind of learned the business, walked away, was still doing marketing, did not enjoy it. Wanted to find out something that I could market. This was back in 95, 96. And at the time, I only knew how to make one thing in the kitchen, and that was chai. I wasn't a very good cook or anything. I used to make chai for my parents. And because I knew the farmers markets, I went and started selling them at the farmers market on a little 4-foot table, selling packages of chai, 20-count tea bag, stand-up pouches. And that's how I got started. And that took off, and then people started asking me about bringing in other teas, and I brought them in and started to sell those. And then I lost my job after 9/11. The market changed, and I decided to go full throttle into the tea business. And pretty soon we started doing food service, iced tea for local restaurants, and we became famous locally by serving these great iced teas at a lot of restaurants. And then in 2004, somebody approached us with making chai in concentrates, which is kind of what you see here. And we started then going on the national scene, teaching about tea, teaching about chai. During that time, around 2002, I also was asked to direct the farmers markets. I did that for almost 10 years. And then after 10 years, it just made sense to turn it into a nonprofit. So Heirloom Farmers Market today is now a nonprofit serving the community. And then the tea business has just grown every year, and we've kept doing it. And then in 2021, we launched Transit Tea, which is our local tea shop. See all that? So that is a very high-powered water filtration system, or really a very sophisticated water filtration system. So it's coming in at 440, which is actually light. Sometimes it's as high as 900. It's going out at 19. That's what the water filtration system is doing.
Wow.
It's changing the water from 440, 441 to almost 14. And that change is what makes all the difference in how this water tastes. I don't know if it's toxins, but like there's chlorine, and then there's things that are naturally in the water here, minerals and whatnot. And our water is hard, very by its nature, so it doesn't taste great because it's very minerally. Ultimately, it's trying to get to some place where it tastes really good, and I think this does the job. It tastes really clean, almost sweet. It really creates a beautiful platform to make drinks from. Yeah, and that ice is really, really clear, right? It's crunchy, so it has a tremendous texture. It's a very specific way of making ice that's different than any place else. So it's not just about making the drink cold. It's also about, in the event that you want to chew on the ice, that experience can continue, right? We brew tea like espresso, and that water is what's used to brew that tea like espresso. So it's really, really concentrated. And in doing so, it gives us the ability to do lots of things. Normally customers will come to us and like, how do you like it? Do you want it sparkling? Do you want it still? The sparkling is the thing, right? We use a really fancy sparkling machine. See how tiny those bubbles are? So this machine chills it to a really, really low temp to achieve that kind of mouthfeel on the bubbles. Everything is fresh brewed, so this is like a green tea. And I'll stir it, but just this green tea soda. And that's a high-end tea. We're not using like cheap tea to do this. We've gone and we've combined the syrups into different combinations. Like anybody can just go, oh, I just want raspberry. But that doesn't, that's no point to it, right? Look at how rapid she was. So you have to know how to build flavor, and that's something that we learn after 26 years of working at Maya Tea. So like you tasted this. Taste it now.
Oh my gosh.
So that should taste like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it does.
So we converted a tea, green tea, made it bubbly, and added flavors that make it taste like cola. And if you don't want caffeine, I can still do that. You can have it plain, no sugar, no nothing, just clean tea. Or you could go to the next level, you can add flavors and different combinations. The same thing with a latte, right? If you want a tea latte, you can pick your base within reason. Some things don't work with others and we guide you away from that, but just like we did the espresso, right? We can make tea lattes instead of espresso lattes. So you just have to kind of go through it and just pick your adventure. And you can change every day. You play out the flavors that you want. A lot of tea shops, or not only just tea shops, but any concept, is built on something somebody else has already done. You might build an Asian style tea house, which is how they have tea in Asia. And it has a certain zen about it, it has a certain way. So they're taking something that was built and transplanting it and putting it here. An English or European style tea room, they're taking that and putting it here. Boba, coming from Indonesia and some of the islands, right? What about something from here? This doesn't exist anywhere. And what does an American style tea room look like? And it's not rooted in anything other than somebody who's been in the tea business in America for 26 years, who doesn't have to answer to anybody and knows about the process of making and brewing and manufacturing and creating tea and spices and saying, okay, cut it loose. What do Americans love? And how do I take what Americans love, what we love, and put tea and and bridge the gap? That's really what transit is. When I was thinking about the business plan and everything else, I was listening to like Roy Orbison and Elvis Presley, the 50s and the 60s American music, and saying, okay, listen to that energy, the 70s, and what's there, and how do I take those sounds and take some of that language and build it into transit? Basically, it's like a giant mixtape for tea. Just take it, do what you want with it, and go, right? And take it with you and feel better. So that's the origin story of transit. I also think there's a secondary piece to it. What does America mean to me as an immigrant family, right? And to come here with nothing and to have this place and these people and this soil lift you. In India, people are not like that. It's very competitive, and it's competitive for resources, and people push you down. Here, people lift you up. That is part of the spirit of transit, is how do we lift each other up? How do we lift each other up individually, together, us to our customers? How do we lift each other up, our employees to each other, and the community as well, and just be like, no, that's what America is all about, right? Like the rising of things. Let's elevate, and that's why it's a hot air balloon. The way that the Tucson community really helped was in my early years, going to the farmers market, and these people that supported me and bought my tea and did it regularly, some of which still buy the same tea that they bought 27 years ago. And then the restaurant community embracing me in the early 2000s and letting me do their iced tea and their tea programs, and then When I got the chai, the coffee shops coming in saying, no, we want to be a part of what you're doing. And then at the farmers markets and actually creating those, and the support and the love that came with that as well, and how beloved they became. It really showed me the power of that community. And so there is something about our community. Maybe it's the heat, maybe it's any number of things, but there is something here about a bonding and a communalness that is unique, and it's not as cutthroat, and it is more collaborative. Like, you know each other. Put that on television. Look, my very own friend. No, I bought tortillas from somebody else yesterday. I had to. I wasn't near the market. They're cracking a stupid hot together.
All right. So just a little so you can. So it's all flavored first, but he is going to build.
Isn't that great? And that fruit. Cheers. It's like candy, right? All right.
So I'm gonna pick my style, which is iced, and I'm gonna go with the sparkling.
Sparkling.
Yes.
Green tea.
Yes. And then I'm going to go with our Joyride, which is cranberry and white peach.
You got it. You got it.
So I love Transit because you get so many options and it's not overwhelming. They make it simple. It's 4 steps. You can pick iced, hot, cold, sparkling, not sparkling. It's similar to being in a coffee shop, but tea forward.
All right. Sparkling, Joyride, green tea soda.
Perfect.
There you go.
I'm excited.
I am too.
Perfect. On this hot day,
I know, it's good,
I'll
right?
be back every
All right.
time.
Thank
you so much.
All right. Both my parents are from India. I was actually born in India, and we moved here in '72 when I was not quite 2 years old. And we lived in New York City, and my mom didn't speak English, and my dad was a CPA. He was an accountant. So he was a finance guy. And then when we moved to Tucson because my dad bought a motel here. And his trajectory was to continue to invest. So he was not so much an entrepreneur, but he was an investor. So he'd invest in real estate and in the stock market. And growing up, like other households have like Sports Illustrated or Reader's Digest, we have Forbes and Fortune. I just kind of grew up in this environment that was really always talking about business and entrepreneurship and money. My parents were really hardworking people, very strict, very disciplined, very demanding, very critical. So I played in a very tight space and I got used to that. And then my mom is a tremendous cook. She does magic in the kitchen. And so there's this side from my dad that is really entrepreneurial, and then there's this side from my mom around food is love. My journey has really been around taking both of those sides and turning it and unifying it in a way that's really beautiful. The difficulty of being in that space between two polar opposites and a very strict family ultimately led me to an interesting crossroads with a tremendous amount of self-discipline. The stereotype is that I was going to become a doctor, an engineer, maybe own a 7-Eleven or a gas station, right, or a Hope Motel, which my parents did, and follow this certain path. Maybe be a lawyer. My parents were mortified when I said that I wanted to make chai. They were like, what? You're gonna be a chaiwala? Right? Like that didn't compute. And I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. Like, I should have been terrified, but I was like, no, I think this is really cool. So my intention was never to break that. What turns out to be funny now is the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, was a chaiwala. And so now in India, when I talk about the fact that I make chai, everybody's like, oh, just like the Prime Minister. And I thought, well, that wasn't cool in '97. Rather than worry about the tropes or the expectations or the stereotypes of being Indian, I would rather use the time and the energy to be more focused on, you get to do whatever you want to do. You just have to put in the work. And you just have to improve yourself. But if you choose there are no limitations as to what you want to do. I don't know what success would have looked like in some of those other fields. Could have been successful. I'm not sure I could have been happier. What set my chai apart at the very beginning was my masala mix. A masala is any blend of spices. And isn't a spicy life awesome? Super flavorful, super adventurous. There's a t-shirt on the outside of my office door that says Unleash the Manish. And on the outside, I feel like I've reached a place where I finally can be unleashed. I've done the work. I know the drill. I know what I need to know. And I get to play with other people who also are unleashed and go, let's go, let's do this thing, right? And see what happens.